The moment the fork pierced my skin, three things happened simultaneously. I bled, my sister Sophie laughed, and my parents told me I was being dramatic. But what none of them knew was that in my pocket, I had a letter that would change everything. A letter from someone they'd forgotten about. Someone who'd been watching. And when the truth came out, the family that called me crazy would be the ones begging for forgiveness. I'm Melanie Vera. I'm 27 years old, and I live in Las Vegas, Nevada. And I need you to understand something before we go any further. This isn't a revenge story. This is a story about what happens when the person everyone underestimates finally realizes their own worth. And trust me, you need to hear every single word of what comes next. But first, if you've ever been the black sheep, the scapegoat, the one your family blames for everything while the golden child gets away with murder, literally, in my case, I need you to subscribe right now. Because by the end of this story, you're going to understand that you're not alone. And you're not crazy. Hit that button. You'll see why, asterisk asterisk. Let me tell you how it all began. From the outside, the Vera family looked perfect. My father, Martin Vera, owned a successful real estate company in Henderson. My mother, Rebecca, was on the board of 3 different charities. We had the nice house, the nice cars, the nice everything. And then there was Sophie. My older sister by 4 years, Sophie was everything my parents ever wanted. She graduated top of her class, married her college sweetheart Julian White, a lawyer from a good family, and worked as a senior consultant at a prestigious firm. She had the perfect hair, the perfect smile, the perfect life. And then there was me. I was the nurse. The single one. The one who drove a beat-up car and lived in a small apartment in a questionable neighborhood. The one who, according to family legend, was too emotional, too sensitive, and always causing drama. But here's the thing nobody tells you about being the scapegoat in a family: it's not about what you do. It's about what they need you to be. They needed me to be the problem so Sophie could be the solution. They needed me to be the failure so Sophie could be the success. They needed me to be wrong so they could be right. And I played my part perfectly for 27 years. The abuse started small. Sophie would accidentally trip me. She'd playfully pinch me hard enough to leave bruises. She'd jokingly shove me into furniture. And every single time I complained, my parents would say the same thing. Stop being so dramatic, Melanie. It's just sibling roughhousing. Why do you always have to be so sensitive? By the time I was in high school, I'd learned to stop complaining. What was the point? They weren't going to believe me anyway. The emotional abuse was worse. Every achievement I had was diminished. Every mistake was magnified. When I graduated nursing school, my mother's response was, "That's nice, dear. Sophie just got promoted to senior consultant." When I bought my first car with money I'd saved from working double shifts, my father said, "You should have asked me for advice. You probably got ripped off." When I tried to date, every boyfriend was not good enough or clearly using you or you can do better, which was ironic, because they also made it clear that Sophie had done better by marrying Julian. I was 27 years old, and I had never, not once, felt truly loved by my own family. But I kept showing up. Because they were my family. Because I thought maybe, someday, they'd see me. I was wrong. 3 months ago, my parents threw a party for my mother's 58th birthday. Big celebration, catered food, the whole extended family. My Aunt Paula and Uncle Tim, their kids Michelle and Collins. Sophie and Julian. About 20 people total, all gathered at my parents' house. I'd worked a night shift at Sunrise Hospital, 13 hours dealing with back-to-back emergencies in the ER. I was exhausted, running on 3 hours of sleep, but I still showed up because missing my mother's birthday would have been unforgivable. I brought a gift, a beautiful silk scarf I'd spent 2 weeks searching for because it was her favorite color. I also brought homemade brownies because my mother always said she loved my brownies. "You're late," was the first thing she said when I walked in. I was 10 minutes late because I'd gotten stuck in traffic. "Sorry, Mom." Happy birthday. I handed her the gift and the brownies. She took them without looking at me. Sophie and Julian have been here for an hour already. They know how to respect people's time. I swallowed the hurt and went to sit down. Dinner was the usual. Sophie held court, talking about her recent work trip to New York, how she'd closed a major deal, how her boss was considering her for partner. My parents hung on every word. I tried to contribute to the conversation. I mentioned how we'd saved a man's life in the ER that week, a heart attack patient who'd flatlined twice. I was proud of it. It had been intense and scary, and we'd brought him back. My father barely looked up from his plate. That's your job, Melanie. You're supposed to save people. Sophie smirked. At least someone trusts you with responsibility. The table laughed. My face burned. I should have left right then. But I didn't. We were having dessert, my brownies, which nobody had touched, and a fancy cake from Sophie, when it happened. I was talking to my cousin Michelle about a new hiking trail I'd discovered. Just normal conversation. I was using my hands to gesture, the way I always do when I'm excited about something. Sophie was sitting next to me. She'd been drinking wine all night, getting progressively louder and more obnoxious. She kept making little comments under her breath about me, how I was too loud, how my laugh was annoying, how my outfit was trying too hard. I'd ignored all of it. But then, as I was mid-sentence, describing the view from the trail, I felt a sharp, sudden pain in my right shoulder. Sophie had picked up her fork and stabbed me with it. Not a poke. Not a tap. A full stab that went through my sweater and into my skin. I gasped and grabbed my shoulder. When I pulled my hand away, there was blood on my fingers. What the hell? I shouted, standing up so fast my chair fell backward. The entire table went silent. And then my mother started laughing. Not a little chuckle. A full laugh. Oh my God, Melanie, it's just a tiny scratch. Don't be so dramatic. My father shook his head, smiling. You always overreact to everything. Sophie sat there with this satisfied expression on her face. I barely touched you. You're such a baby. I looked around the table. My aunt and uncle were looking at their plates. Michelle looked uncomfortable but said nothing. Julian was staring at Sophie with an expression I couldn't read. Nobody was going to defend me. Nobody was going to acknowledge that my sister had just stabbed me at our mother's birthday dinner. You're all insane, I said quietly. My mother's face hardened. Excuse me? She stabbed me. Look. I showed them my hand, covered in blood. This isn't normal. This isn't okay. Oh, for God's sake, my mother snapped. It's a fork, not a knife. Stop being such a drama queen. You're ruining my birthday. I'm ruining, I couldn't finish the sentence. Something inside me just cracked. I grabbed my purse and walked out. Behind me, I heard my mother say, "See? This is exactly what I'm talking about." She always has to make everything about her. If you're still watching, thank you. Please subscribe. Because what I'm about to tell you next will make you understand why staying silent, why accepting abuse, is never the answer. Hit that button, asterisk asterisk. I drove straight to an urgent care clinic. The doctor on duty, Dr. Aaron Lincoln, cleaned the wound and gave me a tetanus shot. This is a puncture wound, he said carefully, looking at my shoulder. How did this happen? My sister stabbed me with a fork at a family dinner, I said flatly. His expression changed. I need to document this. And I have to ask, do you feel safe going home? I live alone. I'm safe. He looked like he wanted to say more but didn't. He gave me wound care instructions and sent me home. I sat in my car in the parking lot and cried. Not because of the pain in my shoulder. but because I'd finally seen clearly what I'd been refusing to see my whole life. My family didn't love me. They tolerated me because I was useful as a punching bag. I drove home to my apartment, climbed into bed, and stared at the ceiling for hours. That's when I remembered the letter. It had arrived 3 days earlier, a thick envelope from a law office in Scottsdale, Arizona. Griffin and Associates. I'd been too busy with work to open it and had tossed it on my kitchen counter. I got up and opened it. Dear Ms. Melanie Vera. We regret to inform you of the passing of Mrs. Patricia Schofield on October 18th. As the executor of her estate, I'm writing to inform you that you are the sole beneficiary of her will and must contact our office immediately to discuss your inheritance. Sincerely, Fernando Griffin, attorney at law. Patricia Schofield. My grandmother. My father's mother, who I'd adored as a child. She'd lived in Arizona for the last 15 years, and I'd only seen her a handful of times, but we'd kept in touch. I sent her cards on her birthday and holidays. We talked on the phone every few months. She was the only person in my family who'd ever asked me how I was and actually listened to the answer. She was dead. And nobody had told me. I called the number on the letter first thing the next morning. Ms. Vera, Fernando Griffin said when I identified myself. Thank you for calling. I'm very sorry for your loss. When did she die? I asked. October 18th. Almost 2 weeks ago. Was there a funeral? Yes. October 22nd. My chest tightened. Who attended? There was a pause. Your father, his brother Timothy, and several family friends. My father had gone to his own mother's funeral and didn't tell me. Why wasn't I informed? I asked. That's a good question. Your grandmother left explicit instructions that you were to be contacted immediately upon her death. When I couldn't reach you by phone, I sent the letter. I was told by your father that you were dealing with personal issues and couldn't be reached. Personal issues. Translation, they didn't want me there. You said I'm a beneficiary? I asked, my voice shaking. The sole beneficiary, actually. Your grandmother left you everything. Her estate is valued at approximately $2.8 million. That includes her home in Scottsdale, valued at $2.1 million, and the remainder in investments and savings. I sat down hard on my couch. I'm sorry, what? $2.8 million, he repeated. She was very specific about wanting everything to go to you. She actually came to update her will about 6 months ago for this exact purpose. 6 months ago. She'd known she was dying and made sure I'd be taken care of. There's also a letter, Fernando continued. She left it with me to give to you. Would you like me to read it, or would you prefer to come to the office? Read it, please, I whispered. He cleared his throat and began. My dearest Melanie. If you're hearing this, I'm gone. And knowing your father, he probably didn't tell you about the funeral. That's why I made sure my attorney had your information. Sweet girl, I've watched from afar how they treat you. Your father calls me occasionally, and I hear it in his voice, the way he dismisses you, diminishes you. Your mother hasn't spoken to me in years, but I hear things through the grapevine. I know about Sophie's cruelty. I know how they make you feel small. I want you to know something, you are not small. You are not too much. You are not the problem. You are kind, compassionate, hardworking, and genuine. You became a nurse because you wanted to help people, not for status or money. You call me on my birthday every single year. You send me photos of your life. You care. I'm leaving you everything because you deserve it. Because you're the grandchild who made me feel loved. Because I want you to have the freedom to build a life away from people who can't see your worth. Use this money wisely. Be happy. And please, my dear, stop waiting for them to love you the way you deserve. They won't. But that doesn't mean you're unlovable. It means they're incapable. All my love, always. Grandma Patricia. I couldn't speak. Tears were streaming down my face. Miss Vera? Fernando said gently. Are you all right? She knew, I managed to say. She knew everything. Yes, he said. And she wanted to make sure you'd be okay. I took a week off work. I told them it was for a family emergency, which wasn't exactly a lie. I flew to Scottsdale and met with Fernando in person. We went through all the paperwork. The house was beautiful, a 3-bedroom Spanish-style home with a pool, in an upscale neighborhood. Everything inside was exactly as I remembered from my childhood visits. My grandmother's paintings on the walls. Her books. Her garden. And in her bedroom, I found a box with my name on it. Inside were letters. Dozens of them. Letters she'd written to me over the years but never sent. Letters documenting her worries about me, her pride in my accomplishments, her anger at how my family treated me. There were also photos. Pictures of me as a baby, as a child, as a teenager. My school photos that I'd sent her. Cards I'd made. I sat on her bedroom floor and read every single letter, crying through all of them. In the last one, dated 3 months before she died, she wrote, Melanie is the best of all of us. Martin doesn't see it because he's too much like his father was, cold, focused on appearances, incapable of real emotional connection. Sophie is a bully because Rebecca raised her to believe being cruel is the same as being strong. But Melanie has a good heart. She always has. I just hope she realizes she doesn't need their approval to be worthy of love. I stayed in Scottsdale for 3 days. I met with financial advisors. I set up trusts and investments. I paid off every penny of my student loans, $73,000 gone in one transaction. And I made a decision. I wasn't going back to the life I'd had before. I flew back to Las Vegas and gave notice at my apartment. I found a beautiful 2-bedroom place in Summerlin, a nice part of town I'd always dreamed of living in. I traded in my dying car for a new one. Nothing flashy, a reliable Honda CR-V that wouldn't leave me stranded. I cut my hours at the hospital and started volunteering at a free clinic twice a week, something I'd always wanted to do but couldn't afford to. And I didn't tell my family any of it. Not a word. Subscribe if you're still watching. Because the confrontation that's coming? You need to see this. Trust me, ***. For 6 weeks, I ghosted my entire family. My mother called twice. I didn't answer. Sophie texted, Mom said you're being weird. What's your problem? I deleted it. My father sent an email. Your mother is upset that you haven't apologized for ruining her birthday. This behavior is childish. I didn't respond. Thanksgiving came. My mother left a voicemail. We're having Thanksgiving at 3 p.m. You better be there. And you owe me an apology for that scene at my birthday. I spent Thanksgiving at the free clinic, serving meals to people who actually appreciated it. Christmas arrived. My mother called from a different number. I'd blocked her original one. Melanie, this is ridiculous. Whatever you think we did, you're being dramatic as usual. We're a family. You need to get over yourself and come to Christmas dinner. I hung up and blocked that number too. That's when they got creative. My cousin Michelle called. We'd always been friendly, and I hadn't blocked her. Mel, she said carefully. Your parents are really worried about you. Are they? They said you've been acting strange. Not answering calls. They think you might be having some kind of breakdown. I laughed. Actually laughed. A breakdown. That's what they're saying. They want to do an intervention. An intervention for what? They think you're mentally unstable. They've been telling everyone you've cut them off for no reason, that you're paranoid and delusional. Of course they were. Because admitting the truth, that I'd finally stood up for myself, would make them look bad. When's this intervention? I asked. Next Sunday. At your parents' house. They want me to get you to come over. Are you going to? Michelle was quiet for a moment. I don't know what really happened at that birthday dinner, Mel. But I know you. You're not crazy. And I've seen how they treat you compared to Sophie. Thank you, I said softly. What should I tell them? Tell them I'll be there. Sunday arrived. I dressed carefully, nice jeans, a cashmere sweater, the kind of outfit I could never have afforded before. I drove to my parents' house in my new car. I was 15 minutes early. My mother answered the door, and her eyes widened when she saw me. Melanie. You came. Michelle said you wanted to talk. She ushered me inside. My father was there. Sophie and Julian. Aunt Paula and Uncle Tim. Even a stranger, a man in a suit who introduced himself as Dr. Douglas Mahone, a therapist. They'd really brought a therapist to my intervention. Please, sit down, my mother said in the syrupy sweet voice she'd never used with me before. I sat. They arranged themselves around me like I was on trial. Melanie, my father began, we're concerned about you. You've been isolating yourself, refusing to communicate with your family. Dr. Mahone is here to help us understand what's going on. Dr. Mahone leaned forward. Melanie, your family tells me you've been exhibiting concerning behavior. Paranoia, cutting off contact, making accusations. Can you tell me your side? I looked at each of them. My parents, sitting there looking concerned. Sophie, trying to hide a smirk. Julian, looking uncomfortable. My aunt and uncle, clearly wanting to be anywhere else. My side, I said calmly. Okay. 6 weeks ago, at my mother's birthday dinner, Sophie stabbed me in the shoulder with a fork. When I reacted, my parents told me I was being dramatic. I left, got medical treatment, and decided I was done being this family's emotional punching bag. See, my mother said to Dr. Mahone. This is exactly what we're talking about. She exaggerates everything. I have the medical report, I said, pulling it from my purse. Would you like to see it, Dr. Mahone? Puncture wound, right shoulder, consistent with a fork injury. Treated with antibiotics and tetanus shot. Dr. Mahone took the report and read it. His expression changed. I also have documentation of every time I've tried to set boundaries with this family and been told I'm too sensitive, I continued. Every achievement they've diminished. Every boyfriend they've sabotaged. Every time they've chosen Sophie over me. This is absurd, my father said. We love both our daughters equally. Do you? I turned to him. When did Grandma Patricia die? The room went silent. What? My father said. Your mother. My grandmother. When did she die? His face paled. October. She died in October. October 18th, specifically. And when was the funeral? October 22nd, he whispered. And did you tell me? Silence. Did you invite me to my own grandmother's funeral? You were, we thought. You thought what? That I didn't deserve to know? That I didn't deserve to say goodbye? My mother found her voice. We were protecting you. You've been so unstable lately. I've been unstable? I laughed. You let your daughter stab me and called me dramatic. You went to your mother's funeral and didn't tell me. And you think I'm the unstable one? Dr. Mahone was looking at my parents with an expression that clearly said he was reassessing the situation. There's something else you should know, I said. Grandma Patricia left me her entire estate. $2.8 million. The house, the investments, everything. Because she saw what you refused to see, that you've been emotionally abusing me my entire life. The room exploded. My father stood up, red-faced. That's impossible. I'm her son. She left you nothing because she knew exactly what kind of person you are, I said calmly. She wrote me letters explaining everything. Want to read them? Sophie was on her feet now. You manipulated a dying old woman. I visited her twice in 15 years, I said. But I called her. I sent her cards. I remembered her. Unlike you, who couldn't be bothered. My mother's voice was shrill. This is about money. You got money, and now you think you're better than us. No, I said, standing up. The money just gave me the ability to leave. I've known I deserved better my entire life. I just couldn't afford to act on it before. I turned to Dr. Mahone. You should know, they didn't call you for me. They called you because they're realizing they can't control me anymore. And it scares them. I walked to the door. Melanie, my father shouted. If you walk out that door, you're not welcome back. I turned and smiled. Good. Because I wasn't coming back anyway. I left. And this time, I didn't cry. That was 4 months ago. I haven't spoken to any of them since. I heard from Michelle that Sophie and Julian separated 2 months after that confrontation. Apparently, Julian told her he couldn't marry someone who treats people the way she treats me. They were supposed to get married next month. The wedding's been cancelled. My parents tried to contest Grandma Patricia's will. Fernando called me, told me they'd filed legal papers claiming I'd manipulated her. The case was dismissed in 3 weeks. Grandma Patricia had left detailed documentation with her attorney about her reasons for disinheriting my father. It cost my parents $45,000 in legal fees. They sent me one final email through a cousin, "We hope you're happy. You've destroyed this family." I didn't respond. But for the record, I am happy. Happier than I've ever been. I'm still working as a nurse, but now I have the financial freedom to only take shifts I want. I volunteer regularly at the free clinic. I'm taking painting classes because I always wanted to and never had the money. I'm dating someone, a teacher named Sam, who thinks I'm amazing exactly as I am. Who's never once called me dramatic or too sensitive. I moved into Grandma Patricia's house in Scottsdale. It felt right. I'm surrounded by her things, her love, her memory. I'm in therapy, real therapy, with a doctor I chose, working through 27 years of trauma. And I've started a blog about family estrangement and scapegoating. I've heard from hundreds of people with similar stories. People who thought they were alone. People who thought they were crazy. We're not crazy. We're just done accepting crumbs from people who should be giving us full meals. Last week, my mother created a fake Facebook account and sent me a message, "Your father had a health scare. He's in the hospital. Don't you even care?" I blocked the account. Because here's what I learned, caring about people who hurt you doesn't make you a good person. It makes you a doormat. Setting boundaries doesn't make you selfish. It makes you healthy. And sometimes, the family you need isn't the one you're born into, it's the one you build yourself. I have friends now who celebrate my accomplishments. A partner who respects my feelings. A community of people who see me for who I really am. And every day, I wake up in my grandmother's house, surrounded by proof that at least one person in my biological family loved me unconditionally. That's enough. If you've made it this far, I need you to do something for me. Subscribe. Not because I'm asking you to, but because if this story resonated with you, if you've been the scapegoat, the forgotten one, the one who's always wrong, you deserve to know you're not alone. We're building a community here. People who refuse to accept abuse. People who choose themselves. Hit that subscribe button. Be part of this. Because your story matters too. You matter, asterisk asterisk. My name is Melanie Vera. I'm 27 years old. I live in Scottsdale, Arizona now. And I'm finally free. The people who were supposed to love me chose to hurt me instead. But one person, my grandmother Patricia, loved me enough to give me a way out. And I took it. If you're in a similar situation, I'm telling you, take it. Take the way out. Choose yourself. Set the boundaries. Walk away if you have to. You deserve better than being someone's emotional punching bag. You deserve to be loved. And if the people in your life can't give you that, find the ones who can. This isn't the end of my story. It's the beginning.